Welcome to DevReady podcast, where we're helping non-techs build better tech. Today, we're joined by Alex Pirouz. He is the founder of Linkfluencer. They are effectively helping people with their online or LinkedIn marketing campaigns and have built a product as well to help people get better at how they sell online and through LinkedIn specifically. Alex, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. First person I got my name right.
Yeah, you've told me about 3 times before you started recording, so that helps. Nothing to hide here. We're pretty open.
Very transparent.
Love it. So, Alex, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, your history, and how the business really came about.
Long story short, I started my entrepreneurial journey at the age of 13. How old are you guys? You guys are in your mid-30s? Mid-30s, okay, yeah. So do you know the Atari? Do you remember the Atari?
Yeah, I remember the Atari. Yeah,
oh, you had an Atari?
I didn't have one, but I remember it.
I remember back then. Yeah.
So I really wanted one. My parents couldn't afford one. I hounded them for 6 months every day and then realized that wasn't working. The first day that I went back to school, after I stopped asking them, the principal announced that they were running a competition for the kid who raises the most amount of money for charity would win this Atari.
Oh, perfect. Opportunity for you.
Right. And so I was never very good academically, but great people person. The teachers hated me, but the kids loved me. So I knew a Persian guy, because that's my background, who managed Franklin's, which is like a version of IGA.
Yeah. Mm.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I think, they got bought out by IGA.
Yeah, they did. I believe so, yeah.
So I went to him and said, look, surely can you give me some, chocolates or chips or something? It's for charity. He said, look, we do have chocolate that's going out of date. So he passed that on to me and gave me a couple $100 worth, which back then is probably worth about $4 or $5 grand. And so I then got introduced to 2 other Franklins, combined all the chocolates, and I went and sold it at school and door to door. Won the Atari because I raised the most amount of money for charity, and that's how my entrepreneurial journey started. So,
I love it. So you learned how to sell very early. Very cool.
Yeah, I got the bug. So then I quit halfway through 11. First 4 businesses didn't go as well as that. One at age 13, I lost a lot of money, and then got a mentor on board. He really helped me understand what I needed to do to be successful. I was chasing money, and he said, chase legacy, listen to him. 5th and 6th business did well, exited those. And then the 7th business, I started an advisory firm, and that's how Linkfluencer was started, because I started using LinkedIn to get into the media, got featured in a lot of publications, and built that advisory firm to 4 full-time advisors within 6 months, all through LinkedIn. And a lot of people started asking me how. Realized there's actually a method behind the madness, so to speak. And that's where the mission started. And then, that was 8.5 years ago.
Yeah, so it's evolved pretty quickly at the time, but also has been a lot of time since then. So the business started 8.5 years ago as a consulting business, but it's evolved and changed, and seen that through LinkedIn. You now have a product behind it. And so tell us about how the steps of the process and the evolution of the business sort of came about.
So started off as an online program. So our core IP we put into a 3-step program online. We had a couple of thousand people go through it, and the feedback that we continued getting is, well, that's all good and well, but we need some sort of community and some mentoring to help us with implementing the program. So we did that. We set up 12-month masterminds. Again, 2 years down the track, the feedback that we continued to get was, can you just do it for us? And so we ran a managed services side of the business, ran that for a couple of years, had a couple 100 clients go through it. And at this point, we understood the real challenge. The first challenge is most people don't have a strategy. The ones who do and get a lot of conversations going, they can't manage those opportunities because conversations get lost in their inbox.
It is challenging with LinkedIn, isn't it?
Yeah.
It just never ends.
And it's clunky. Then you got to, put people into unread or drafts. You're using spreadsheets. You're using, poster notes, all sorts of stuff. So we realized it's not just strategy that people have issues with. It's actually management. And then at the same time, we were constantly thinking, other than feedback from clients, how can we scale? How can we reach the masses and really make a big impact? And then that's how Jayla was born.
So Jayla, obviously it's a SaaS model. It's a SaaS play that's solving some of these problems that you found through the journey of business. I find it quite intriguing how people evolve their business models as they go. I think people just assume that I jump into a business is going to be the same in 10 years that it is today, but it never is that way. It always is evolving. And if you're going to be a good business owner and serving your customers, you need to listen to them. I think you've done really well from there. So Jayla, when was the time of the idea, the concept, and then how long did it take you to actually flesh through and begin that process and get to where you are today?
So we're in Docklands. We're having Nando's, me and my business partner. I remember this like vividly. And we're sitting there and he said, I've got an idea on how we can scale. I said, okay, tell me about it. He said, all right, wouldn't it be awesome if we had a software that helped people formulate their strategy, but then, which is our online program, our core product, or methodology. And then what if we also created options where people had automated reminders? So let's say me and you, Andrew, we're in a conversation. I add you as an opportunity. Jayla, I put in, I want to follow you up in 3 days. Then you come into Jayla and he actually tells you in chronological order who you have to follow up based on the opportunities purely for LinkedIn. So I said, oh, geez, that'd be cool. Because then you get rid of spreadsheets. You no longer waste all this time trying to manage it all manually. And then he said, you know what else is missing? A CRM. So what do you mean CRM? Everyone's got a CRM. No. CRM specifically for sales opportunities on LinkedIn. So you can see, hey, I've got 100 opportunities I've opened up. And here are the different stages everyone's in. So then they can progress along. I said, okay, can we do that? I'm not a very,
can we do that?
Right?
Yeah. Can we do it? Should we do it? How do we do it? Is probably the questions that we need to be asking.
Correct.
But yeah.
And he said, yeah, we can do it. And we could probably do it in a way where, let's say I'm going to Sydney. I want to know my opportunities on LinkedIn that are in Sydney that I have to follow up over the next 2 weeks. And the deal value is between 10 to 20 grand. And the likely of that deal is pretty high. Can we create, metrics that I can then do a quick search? Then I can get in contact with those guys, say, hey, look, I'm coming up. You want to meet, have coffee, whatever. He said, yeah. Then we got excited because we thought, all right, geez, if we can do that, that in itself is valuable, let alone the automated reminders. Then I think the big thing we realized from a lot of the feedback from clients is that with social media, you don't like LinkedIn, Facebook don't really tell you, hey, you've spent X amount of time. This is what you're generating in return. That's a problem because
they don't want you to know how much time you're spending on there.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
They want you on there all day and good luck with the return.
And before you know it, you've spent 20 hours and you don't even know whether you've generated any leads because it's all over the shop. And you don't actually even know the strategy you put in place. It's not set and forget. You got to constantly look at it and refine it, but you can't track what you don't measure. So then we created a reporting area where it tells you, hey, Andrew, you've sent 100 invites, 40 people have accepted. That's a 40% acceptance rate. And then we tell people whether that's good or not. It tells you how many leads you've got, how many hours you've spent. So you can go, actually, it's not bad. I've spent 4 hours and I've got 15 active leads. That's pretty good.
That's good. Yeah. Good return on that, isn't it?
But if you've equally, like on the flip side, if you spent 20 hours and you got 2 leads, you're just not being efficient. Or maybe you're saying something in your messages that is not.
That's not resonating. Yeah,
so,
correct.
Long story short, that's sort of how the idea came about. And then from there it was about flushing it out, looking at the technology side. Who can we get to build it? Is this, are these features that people want? And so we ran that past our clients. And I got to say, I think I've learned, I'm not a big fan of listening purely to your customers because I think to some degree you also need to venture out into the unknown because,
Yeah. Oh, they know the way they currently do things, not a better way potentially or another way.
And if you're doing something that's, look, I wouldn't say that, we're a Tesla. It's like, we're not that groundbreaking. We haven't created solar we haven't gone to the moon and back. You get what I mean? But it's still groundbreaking for LinkedIn. So I guess, if you're doing something groundbreaking, you sort of can't ask your clients who've never really sort of spent that much time on LinkedIn to give you guidance. But to some degree, you need to listen to them.
I think you can sort of, for solutions, it's hard to get them in that world. It's more the problems. What's the frustrations? You can dig in on those to understand how big the frustrations are, to see how big this market really is, what the opportunity looks like. And you had a core base of customers too, which makes it a lot easier to actually question and query. And
they can help you figure out which problem to solve first. Out of all the pain points, what's the biggest one?
Yeah. Okay. So the journey of, what was the first step? So you had the idea, you carved out, this is what we might do, builds, this is the plan. Did you document it out? Did you speak to customers? What did you do first?
First step was we had to get into the right mindset, because I've gone through a lot of, I've used a lot of products. I think the challenge that a lot of products face in today's marketplace, where people need instant gratification, people's attention span is next to nothing. Yeah. They're not patient, and they just want something simple. So our mindset was, we're going to create something simple, but the core functionality is going to be high value. But at the same time, we want to create an experience, not a product. And I think that's been the game changer for us. Look, it's only been about a week and a half, but the feedback is, this is the most simple thing I've ever used. And, as an entrepreneur, you can get into this mindset, if it's too simple, it's not valuable. And, people think it's not worth it.
Yeah. The value is the simplicity. Because to distill it to that level, or even to develop a product that should be extremely simple, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that no one ever notices. When we were doing stuff for clients, it's like, can you add a button here that does something? But they don't understand all that work involved. They're like, the button's in the wrong spot.
You're like, geez, this is out of scope.
I don't think you've heard that word before. Yeah. Let's dig into that.
That brings up bad memories.
Yeah, that's one of the statements people don't like to hear. But
sorry. So
and it's just launched, which is. Yes, so we just launched about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, right? So I think it's good timing, and we'll release this episode out pretty quickly for you, because I think it's good time to get it while the iron's hot. So in terms of initial feedback, how many people do you have engaging? Is it just core customers, or have you actually launched it to the masses? Everyone can grab it, because I've seen it online.
Went to we created a waiting list. That's probably the next piece of advice that I would give to anyone launching a software. First, keep it simple. How do we create an experience, not a product? Third of all, I did a post about this on LinkedIn actually, go and get a waiting list developed. Don't wait for your product. Go and speak about it. We didn't even have a video. All we had is just, what we knew about the product. Couldn't show any imagery, nothing, because we wanted to keep it a bit sort of, mysterious in a way, but at the same time, we wanted to tell people what it did. So we just started talking about it. And then we developed this waiting list of a couple of thousand people over the course of a few months. And, we had a good launch. So,
Yeah, brilliant. I love that, because the amount of NDAs that hit my table about the products that want to be developed, it's crazy how people think that their idea is the only idea, and they're the only person who's ever had this in the world, and they want to protect it. And protecting it means you do not get the feedback from the community, you do not get any buy-in, and then you have to launch day zero, no customers, no feedback. Good luck. Yeah, that's the reality that people.
If you're asking for an NDA, you're very green.
That's
sign of immaturity.
Yeah, because people, I don't know, people are just fearful that someone's going to steal their idea. But the reality is, there's so much work needs to go into these things, and I think sure you can attest to the amount of hours and time and thinking about the product that's happened. How long have you been building it for to get to this point?
Yeah, we started because we had the agency as well. So we probably full time, dedicating, focusing a lot of effort, I would say probably June last year. About a year.
Yeah. So it's been about a year to get it to where it is today. And that's just full time. But
In
July
July
when did the idea start?
2019.
Yeah, so a year before.
It's 2 years to get to today, effectively. Yeah, so it does take time. It's not going to happen overnight. People think that these things take 5 minutes, and that's what an NDA just tell. When I see it, that's like,
The only time you see shortcut, the only time there's a shortcut to success is in a dictionary. There's no shortcut, right? Shortcut is before success. I think even like with, even if someone knew our idea, they're just 99.9% of the population suck at execution because they're going after an idea that's going to be built into $1 billion business within 6 months. And when it doesn't happen, they'll run after the next idea and then the next one. So
I think I like where you've come from. You've got that level of expertise. And this is the type of founders I see that get somewhere. They've invested in a business. They've invested in themselves. They understand their market. They get it. They've got that domain expertise and they're willing to see it through no matter how long it takes. That is when the magic really happens because it doesn't happen overnight. As you would know, you're not at this point and you're only at this point 2 years from product, but it's been 8 years to get to today, not 2 years, because the product idea came from all the learnings and the lessons pre that, which is 6 years of gathering information. And people don't see that from the outside looking in. And that's probably the biggest takeaway I see from people that really get somewhere. There's that much years of investment before they get to product.
It's what they don't get with the NDA either. You can't just take their idea and build it. You don't have the domain expert. You don't have all that knowledge built up over time to be able to take it away. If I build Jayla, it's going to be my version of it, which is going to be inconsequential compared to what your knowledge is going to bring to it and turn it into.
So in terms of building the product, team, technology, how did you approach that? Being a non-tech on the podcast, how did you approach that process?
So my business partner, Mark Meadow, he has launched a software business before and did well and sold that off. So having him by my side definitely helps because he understood what needed to happen from a build perspective to get us there. Then we had to make a choice. Do we go and outsource this or do we build internally? And ultimately, just to get it to market, we've decided to just outsource it. Just easier when we looked at all the different options and the timeframes. So I guess we just whiteboarded it. We sat down, we said, okay, what do we need to do to make this happen? Cool. Well, this is who we need. But then whilst we're getting this developed, what do we need to do once it's developed so that we're not looking after tickets and, handling customer inquiries? Okay, let's train up. Let's make sure one of our team members within the agency is across the entire build, every phone call, every conversation, so that when, like now Jira, with the support area, she just handles all the tickets and we don't even have to think about it, which is it can be very time consuming. And the last thing you want to be doing is like, I get a little negged out when I'm doing admin related sort of tasks. So, from emotionally, you want to feel good too when you're running a business. So I don't want to look after tasks that I shouldn't, and that are unproductive, as a founder. So so we looked at who needs to build it? What people do we need to put in place after? Okay, we need an ad agency. All right, let's reach out to him and talk to him and get that, set up in line with the launch. Let's get Jira looking after customer service. Let's have someone else in the team looking after the data. What's my role going to be when we launch? What's your role, Mark? Okay, I'm going to look after marketing. You go after the corporate market. I think you just got to whiteboard it and, look at all the different aspects of the business, not just the build.
I think that's, you hit the nail on the head there. The way you've described that is you're looking at this as a business entity, as a whole end-to-end solution, not here's a product, go and buy it, which is what a lot of people can do. They build a product and let them come. But you're setting up you're setting up yourself and looking at all the angles and how the thing's going to actually operate, because effectively it is a business now. This is a tool that allows you to deliver value to your customers. But that's what it is. It's a tool that allows you to deliver value. But without the supporting activity and the marketing and the operations and the people behind it, the tool is just a tool that will die itself off if it's not supported and maintained and evolved. So I think that's really good definition for anyone out there that's listening. Think of it, it's a business model. Your product the product you develop is the way you actually deliver value. That's all it is. Everything else has to be around it.
Yeah, before it was a service, now it's a product that delivers not the exact same value, but like delivers value at a mass level, which we just didn't have the opportunity to do.
And that's the thing. It's a different market too, isn't it?
Oh, that we're realizing that. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely a different market. So that's something that I would take away from that. Yeah, when you're doing things for people, very different. They've got different budgets, different mind frames, different everything. Maybe they don't want to be a part of it. Whereas this product here is more targeted. The person's going to do it themselves. So very different people, very different market. How have you approached that? Because I find that quite interesting.
I think I've approached it in a way. So I think when we had the online program, when we were just a training organization, when we initially started, it's not the same as the software, but they had access to the online program. They had to do it themselves. So because of that experience, we understand how to now communicate with them. I think the ads are all about, our communication is all about saving time, closing business, being more efficient, which is what's really the underlying issues that we're solving through the features. So we can sit there and go, automated reminders. This is unbelievable, groundbreaking. No one really cares, unless that's solving a problem. So because we know the problems and had the experience, we're able to communicate well with them.
You're clear on what the objectives are, which is a lot of people sometimes build things and then try and find a problem to fit it in.
I know.
Which is, not how you want to go ahead with any of this sort of stuff.
Yeah, or get excited about a problem that either doesn't exist or you've blown it up to be bigger than what it actually is.
Yeah. So we had a good example of a way to word that with one of the early podcasts. He said, everyone has a toothpaste tube and you can never get the last bit of toothpaste out of the tube. Oh, yeah. Someone can solve that problem, but is it worth solving?
Correct. Yeah. You just go buy another tube.
Exactly. No one cares. So we've got to hit a problem someone cares about. So, and in terms of the LinkedIn market, it's massive, right? It's becoming it's a huge space. It's grown significantly over the past 4 or 5 years, and it's getting bigger and bigger, and it's seen as the professional place for people to be. Let's dig in a little bit on that, because I'd love to understand your take on some of the strategies and thinking people should be doing to action on LinkedIn and start thinking about how they're seen as an influencer in the space. It is an area that's important to, one, the business, two, the founders, and how you communicate. So a product like Jayla could actually assist. That's great. And I think there's a lot of value in that. But there's a strategy piece, right? Doesn't matter what the product can only do is what it can do. If your strategy is wrong or your messaging's not going to hit the mark, that's where there's going to be no value added at all from the products, right?
I'm pretty sure your tips have influenced our strategy over the course of the past few years with all the videos we've seen.
A couple there.
I'll send you guys an invoice later. So to tackle that, first of all, that's why this online program, we've actually incorporated to be within the software. So it's not like, buy it for, and we used to sell that for $600, when we first started the business. So we've incorporated that to be included. But I think where most people, first of all, what you got to understand is that we're living in the H2H economy, human to human. We buy into people, then we buy into companies, then we buy into products. So I think your personal branding is never been as important. And the first thing most people do, unless you're, using I use Google, right, for all my search engines, 2% of the market, right? You might use Bing, but most people use Google, and they type in your name before they sign on a dotted line. They type in your name when they get that cold email. They type in your name when, I don't know, they see you tagged in a post. And based on what they see, they create a perception about who you are and whether you're an expert in that domain. Based on that, they'll decide to listen to you or the 20 other people in your industry that are probably, that are not offering the same thing, because everyone's sort of different. But so I think that's what I would focus on first. And then second step is getting clear on your outcome. Most people who go on LinkedIn don't really know why they're on there. So what we encourage within our methodology is get clear on your outcome. Okay, I want to generate leads. Cool. What's your quota this quarter? How much do you need to generate this quarter? 250 grand in sales. 250 grand. What's the path of least resistance? If I connect with procurement managers in, manufacturing, because the deal size and the conversion rates are the best. So people don't think about this stuff. So then you might go and connect with factory managers, but you haven't looked at the data of your conversions. Then you waste all this time. So getting clear on your outcome and making sure that ties into the business objectives is really important. And then goes without saying, you obviously need to have a really good profile that connects with this audience that you're connecting with. And then from there, you start connecting with them. So get your messaging right, create your saved search, which you need Sales Navigator to do, premium option. And then got to get into the mindset. It's about quality. It's not about sending, hi, I came across your profile through a mutual connection. Would be great to connect. It's
great connected.
That's
like, what everyone sends. Yeah. I love when you get the messages, hi, first name, bracket. It's like, oh, that's classic.
I haven't got one of those before. That's bad.
Delete. You haven't got one of those before? Yeah, it's bad. Yeah. I've seen a couple of those pop into the inbox. Yeah.
Or the wrong name. I've even seen something out like that. I forget to change my template and tweak it.
And you know why? Most often they're actually, so LinkedIn over the last 6 months, 6 to 12 months has gone through a major overhaul with their security. So, a lot of automation tools have been banned.
They have, yeah. We were a part of those a few years ago, and we got flagged and thought, oh shit.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, stop using them just in case.
And what did they say? Did they ban your account?
No, it was a warning.
Okay.
And they told us to stop, so we just thought, all right, otherwise 2 years worth of marketing efforts just wasted if we get rid of all the content.
So it's a bit of more of a fear, like it can't lose the content.
Yeah, true. Yeah. So why have they gone through a major overhaul? One, spam rates were going high. That's mainly because people were just creating a template, sending it off to, 50 to 100 people a day. Now what's happened is they've restricted it to be 16 to 20 invites a day. So what is that? And then they've actually said, now what can happen? You guys were lucky. Now, if they find out you're doing it, like we had one client when we were running the managed services, came to us and said, I can't actually get my account back.
Oh, gone completely.
Passport, sending your driver's license. And then it goes, when you're working with these big media giants, you're waiting months to get it back. So you might as well just start another profile. To get it back.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, you don't want to be in that position.
We were lucky then.
Very lucky. So I guess the reason why I was bringing all that up, nowadays it's more important than ever before to be about quality. Look at the guy's profile, send 5 to 10 invites instead of 20, and look at his profile and formulate a connection based on that. Because if you do that, you're actually going to get better results. And then 2, your network's going to be comprised of people who've interacted with you more. And it will just show in the results. It's simple as that.
It makes a lot of sense, because even when I get 1,000 cold emails, but the ones that actually catch my attention are the ones that say something that we say. Or I was listening to your podcast with X, really love this, this, and this. All of a sudden, I'm actually paying attention because they've actually tailored it to me, and I feel like I owe them something to read their email because they've actually spent time. So I think that is a great strategy, and just then using that a little bit because it makes a lot of sense to me. But it takes more time, but it's more quality then.
Yeah, it's better than we're in the similar industry, but we can outsource your work for you.
Geez. Yeah. It's about context, right? So like we've got a cold email outreach going, like campaign now. We're targeting IT companies in Melbourne. So, weaving stuff in like that helps.
You're targeting us.
You might have received an email. I think you reported me as spam actually. No. But yeah, I think context is important. I think, and that's what you got to do with your messaging. Otherwise, you don't cut through. You just become another number.
Just more noise.
Yeah. Correct. Just yourself, Alex. What drives you? You've been 8 years in. Looks like you're always evolving business, looking at how you can tweak, scale. You mentioned a couple of times. What drives you today for the next 5-10 years? What's the plan? What drives you?
So there's two elements here. One, my ultimate legacy of what I want to achieve is to build houses, community houses, where I'm passionate about teenagers and entrepreneurship. So I want to take teenagers who are 12 to 18 off the streets, give them a roof over their head. We'll have an in-house chef. They'll get proper, nutrition food, get successful entrepreneurs to come and teach this curriculum to then formulate an idea that these kids want to finally go out and launch. But then what I want to do at the end of that curriculum, I want to pair them with an actual business that's doing what they want to do with the view that they can either stay in that business, work their way up, or launch their own thing thereafter. So at the core level, that's what drives me. What drives me at a surface level is wanting to transform an industry before I've left it. So I think, with Linkfluencer, we try to do that with managed services, couldn't scale. Now with Jayla, what I'm really looking to achieve is to standardize the way that people network and build relationships at a mass level.
Okay. I love your the big picture. Have you made any inroads there? Because I know you do some advisory and the startup space and investing as well. So have you made any inroads in that? Or is that still
with
a
the
vision?
kids?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a mentor of a foundation called Club Kidpreneur. So we teach 8 to 12-year-olds how to start their own business. A lot better to advise kids than adults, I can tell you, because they listen.
They listen, yeah. Yeah, they will. And they'll try anything, right?
Yeah, they have no fear. You tell them to jump off a bridge and someone will buy your product, or not that you would ever advise a kid, just in case there's any parents listening. But yeah, I think, so I do that. But I think, and look, everyone's got a different view. My view is that when I get up, when I launch that community house, I want to have major runs on the board. I think I've got runs on the board, and most people look at me and go, "Oh, you've been pretty successful." But for me, I want to launch a couple of 10-figure, 11-figure businesses, and then use that as a platform to teach kids that anything's possible. Because if I'm telling you, you can build $100 million business,
you have to have done it before. Yeah, that's the reality.
Yeah, and I can't even I had a company wanting to pay me very large sum of money. It was a $50 million company that wanted me to advise. I refused to do it because I don't know what happens at $50 million.
Yeah, if you're not at the scale, you can't advise. That's the reality. You can maybe advise in a specific area, but not from an operational business big picture. But
how do we go from 50 to 200 mil? I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, exactly.
The numbers are very different at that level.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about, like making sense or seconds changes makes a huge difference to anything.
Yeah,
exactly. So,
And the more revenue, the more you have to evolve, change your. Oh, that's a good question for you. In terms of your role in the business, how has that evolved over time? Because I've seen as your business changes, you need to change the way you are, the way you think. How have you framed that in your world? I've seen a bit of that content coming through on LinkedIn. So where does that sit for you?
Initially, I was very hands-on. Over time, I've learned just maturity. I've learned delegation and trust. But I don't give complete trust. I think that's somewhat foolish because this is what I do. Someone comes in, I say, okay, you look after customer service. Every now and then I go and have a little sneak peek at what's happening in customer service. And if I see things that in order, then my trust level goes from 100 to like 80. Then I want to see those stuff get fixed to get to back up to 100. So you just got to trust, delegate. What's my strengths? I love, doing things like this. I like speaking. I'm great with creating partnerships. What do I suck in? Follow through. I can do it. I've been a general manager of this business for the last 5 years.
You sound like me. Yeah, you do. Yeah, it's hilarious.
So, Anthony, are you the sort of, do you keep things in check?
He's the detail
I'm the tech
guy,
process
keeps everything in check.
structure.
I'm the guy that thinks out in the clouds a little bit and says, Anthony, how the hell are we going to do this? Yeah, so.
You've got, a nice two-pronged approach on our end.
Yeah, it's good.
It works well.
It's good to have that mix. So like I can do it. I don't enjoy it, but if it has to get done, I don't care. I'll sacrifice and make it happen. But so I think that would, just trust, delegate, stick to your strengths, try to delegate your weaknesses out as much as possible. And then that's really how you're going to grow as a person, but also as a company.
Yeah. You need to grow as a person to grow the company. That's what I've noticed over time. You have to grow your thinking, your vision, your expectations, your impact you want to make. And that evolves with the business as you grow and you see more and what the biggest challenges are in the industry. And I think, you're on a road to solving bigger problems. Jayla, if anyone wants to access it, to have a play around if they get to understand it, it's just on linkfluencer.com. I believe it is. Yeah, so they can just get access from there. We'll share it out in the show notes. Alex, it's been a pleasure just having a casual chat about building tech and business and startups. And really enjoyed your time on the show today. And thanks for joining us.
Promise me one thing, you won't report us as spam again.
No. I'll let everything through. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.